had to mute. Everyone mute off. So sometimes we'll do volume.
Jim, can you give me your volume, second volume?
Second volume?
Yeah. I forgot to bring.
I have electronic version.
You have?
I think so.
Push it.
I got
Okay.
better change.
Yeah. Mm.
哎，大家早上好。刚才我给你们发了那个仪轨希望你们能够有张罗下来，因为我们今天前一半部分呢会结束上次我们在讲怎么样打坐的课前一半部分会结束这个，后一半部分呢就会开始讲这个地藏菩萨的法门。然后中文的仪轨呢慢慢讲课呢，我会把它翻译成中文，然后给大家。
哇。
不懂的地方我们就一起讨论。对，然后呢，我建议大家要做笔记，今天特别是关于地藏菩萨的这个法门，因为师父会教很多这个观想和打坐的内容，所以呢你们要建议大家做一下笔记，这个流程程序是什么样，怎么样观想，这样的话你下去之后呢，就自己可以修。师父呢，他在找一下，他在找一下资料，看国际道次第广论里面的资料。
OK。
经发给你们，你有看到吗？我刚才有发，就在 Line 上面。
哦。
好，我们今天开始。有两个文件，第一个文件呢是地藏菩萨的总知识啊，要download下来，观想的时候会要用到。
So we will continue with the last class for almost maybe I don't know half an hour or
大概半个小时结束呢。
we check, yeah. So we talk about the last time we covered with the antidotes to the antidotes to the attachment, and then aversion, and then confusion, which is ignorant. Right. Now we have left with we have completed with the ignorance, right? Confusion.
We did not touch ignorance.
I see.
Angry.
I see. So we have left 3.
今天呢，我们有3个还没有讲到，贪嗔痴慢和妄念。
Right. And then attach the sense of pride, right? The sense of pride. And then the discursive thoughts, right? Ignorance to the discursive thoughts.
这次呢，就还有愚痴、傲慢以及我们的妄念比较多，这3种毛病的对治的方法还没有讲到。
So then today we will talk briefly about the antidotes to the ignorance.
今天呢，我们会简短的讲一下。
And the ignorance, the antidotes to the sense of pride is, I think, today we don't talk about, and also because this the antidote to the sense of pride or arrogance is what is explained very detailed and taught extensively in the Aryadeva's 400 stanzas. Right. In one of the chapter, it deals with how to deal with the sense of arrogance. And then also discursive thoughts, we already discussed about the breathing, the breathing meditation. So breathing meditation is the antidote, right? And then in some we do find the harmful thoughts, or what are called as destructive thoughts, are not individually not predominant, but equally predominant in some, right? So these five, right? Five destructive emotions or harmful thoughts. So this this one also we are not going to talk about, because there's a specific study, specific study that it's a very extensive study. We spent almost 1 or 2 years studying this. And not ignorance. This one, some there, in some people, all the five delusions are equally predominant, not individually. Equally predominant. The strength is almost same. Right. So this also, when the time comes, then we will talk about that, in the later on. Otherwise, we have no time to this after. Right. So today we talk about the ignorance, right? Antidote to the ignorance. Because normally when we talk about the ignorance, sometimes it is translated as confusion, right? Confusion. Confusion state of mind. So there are two kinds of confusion state of mind. One is to the ultimate nature of the reality, and another one is the ignorant of the ignorant about how the karmic law operates, right? So in there are again, when we talk about the ultimate nature of the ignorance, which is confused about the ultimate nature of reality. Here I'm talking about briefly, briefly. Don't go much in detail. So as an antidote to both, it is sometimes helpful, right? Helpful. Because sometimes what happens is we aspire to achieve happiness, the wish to get rid of suffering, but sometimes, sometimes instead of gaining happiness, we run into problem, right? Suffering. But how does this happen, right? How does it happen is mainly, ignorant, to the law of cause and effect, what causes give rise to happiness and joy, what causes, which creates the problem and suffering, we are ignorant of that, right? So therefore it is helpful to have an understanding that we talk about the 4 reasons, right? 4 reasons. For example, the first, it is helpful to understand these 4 reasons. The first one is the reason of functionality, right? We will talk each individually. The second one is the reason of the nature, and then the reason of dependence, and then the last one is logical reason, right? The first one is the reason of the reason of the functionality, right? Now just try if we try to take the example of the take the example like positive emotions, right? for example, like the sense of patience, the generosity, cherishing others, and the love, the compassion, all these are positive thoughts, right? So now we try to understand, as we, the first reason. What is the functionality reason of the, for example, positive thoughts, positive emotions, right? Right. The function of the positive emotions are, the mere occurrence of which within oneself create the joy, right? Create the satisfaction. We call it satisfaction. Satisfaction, right? The mere occurrence of which creates the satisfaction. Right. So this is the reason of the functionality of the positive thoughts or positive emotions, right? Because when we talk about on the other hand, when we talk about the the functionality of the negative emotions or harmful emotions or what are called destructive emotions, the moment's occurrence of which creates a mental disturbance, right? So this is a very function of all the negative emotions, the delusions, right? And then the second one is now all the positive emotions, all the positive thoughts, the mere occurrence of which creates mental peace, satisfaction. It gives oneself a sense of satisfaction, right? But why? The mere occurrence of which creates positive emotion. Why? Is because this is the nature, right? When we talk about the nature, this is the way it is, right? This is how it is. For example, if you ask why the fire is not burning downward, so fire burns upward, right? The functionality of the fire is the burn. Why the burning nature is the functionality of the fire is because it's the nature. This is the way it is. The moment fire come into being, the burning nature come into being. One cannot separate, right? The burning nature and the fire. I want happiness. We all want happiness. We all do not want suffering, right? This is the basic. The moment we are born, we come into that nature, right? The wanting happiness. Each and every effort, right from waking up early in the morning, even in the dream time, we want happiness. But why we want happiness? We do not want suffering. This is the nature, right? So this is the second second reason, right? Second law, the law of the nature. The third one is the law of the reason of the dependence. Again, so there. For example, again, we develop positive thoughts, when we talk about the the reason of dependence, it dependence on the cause and conditions. Many the multiplicity of the causes and conditions is involved. There is no single cause which give rise to the result. Single result. Great number of, the great number of causes and conditions come into being, So sometimes what we try to do is, when positive, positive and, a successful, when things get success, we just, we tend to believe, there's a single cause, right? There is a single cause. And again, when things go wrong, we blame on to some, take something as a solid, then we blame on that. But if we try to look, so many, things are involved, so many causes and conditions come into being. Even the flower, the tree come into being not because of only water, not because of the soil, not because of the seed, many things, And then again, if you try to, for example, like soil, again, this soil, where does soil come from? Soil comes from its own causes and conditions. Again, its own causes and conditions depends on other causes and conditions. If you try to look at this, it's beyond imagination. One giving rise to another, right? Keep on thinking like this. All great number of, causes and conditions come into being. So there's nothing left, to pinpoint, single out. This is the one. Right. So many things are, come into being, right? So similarly, once, on, positive thoughts does not come, with only one cause, positive thoughts come into being with so many causes and conditions. Right. Even in the case of the disease, sometimes we say the cancer, like, all this cancer does not come suddenly, but many causes since, for a long time, create the cause, getting cancer. So many. Sometimes again, we so so therefore we cannot say this is completely black, this is completely white, So many things. Even in the situation, some situation, maybe unpleasant situation, whether this unpleasant situation can be transformed into the pleasant situation, or whether unpleasant situation can be transformed into the yet another unpleasant situation, depends on one's own, mental attitude, right? Mental outlook. So again, it depends on many causes, conditions, right? The way, we look at the things, again, when we talk about, mental outlook, again, emotions is involved, emotions are involved, So again, these emotions come into being with many causes, conditions. No single cause, only single cause give rise to only one result, right? No multiplicity of the causes cannot give rise to only single result. Or, the single result cannot give rise to multiple single causes cannot give rise to multiple result. Again, multiple causes cannot give rise to single result. So many causes and conditions come into being. So many causes and conditions come into being because of the so many causes and conditions. So everything, go that way. Right. For example, even, one act, just a small act may for some people may be harmful, maybe for some people very beneficial. Right. In one way it affects, and it harms. In another way it helps. So yeah, many causes and conditions. Something like this. And then, so this is how, the causal dependent origination, right? We are not talking about, so if you try to understand this causal dependent origination, many of our distorted views are dispelled, eliminated. Many of the distorted views, right? And we also become very skillful in dealing with the creation of, the means of creating the causes which leads to the happiness, the causes which then, dispelling those causes which give rise to the unpleasant situation, right? Mm. Then and also one becomes very good at, the law of, develop a good understanding in the law of causation, the law of causality, how the, the karmic law operates, right? And then the fourth one is the logical reasoning, yeah. Right. Logical reason means now, now, for example, right, if I develop a positive thoughts, I will be in, my health is also improved, because positive thoughts or positive emotions very helpful, in maintaining a good, health, right? Sometimes, yeah, we do have, for example, if we try to understand, in order to nourish one's, body, in order to nourish one's body and maintain, increase one's body, one need 4 factors, 4 factors. So this is what is taught in Master Kamaleshala's text, the great Master Kamaleshala. He say food is very important for maintaining good health, right? For maintaining the body, for the food, the good sleep, right? And then the massage, which then includes all the exercises, and then other, the massage, other form of, other form of exercises, many other exercises, right? The health exercises. We all do have these 3, right? But then one thing is missing. That is, that is meditation. So meditation is, all the 3 are, maintaining the good health of the physical health, right? And then meditation is the food of the body, food of the mind, right? Because then out of this, but I will, talk about this later. So, right. So now, when the positive thoughts arises within oneself, when we get the positive thoughts, we feel happy, We feel happy. So, right. Also, when other people get positive thoughts, other people feel happy. Right. When positive thoughts arise within myself or in other people, for example, right, the compassion, you know, the love, you know, the what is called unbiased love, you know. No mental state, no mental state, and nobody can, you know, say, you know, if we develop a love, we become angry. Nobody is saying this. We develop a love, we become more, you know, desirous. We become more unhappy. Nobody is saying this. There's no one. Everybody, you know, unanimously come to the conclusion that it is beneficial. So therefore, you know, this is a logical, you know, reason, because it is proven by the valid, you know, cognition. Valid cognition. So sometimes, you know, this thinking about this, you know, for reason very helpful, very helpful. You have the this one, the guide to the Bodhisattva way of life, you know. I will cite one verse. If I read directly from the text, you know, it saves time. It also saves time, and you know, so that, you know, when you try to read the later on, when you try to read this text, very helpful. Or in that, you know, text, or it says like this. Oh. Huh. Hmm. Which chapter? Just wait, you know, I think even this, just wait, even yeah, maybe I think first chapter. Preserved mind is one aim to bring benefit to benefit others who live in speaks. I think this excellence. This one, verse 28. Right. So this is, yeah, I think, an important point. What Shantideva says is, for beings long to launch, I think, for beings launch to free themselves from misery. But misery itself, they follow and pursue. They launch for joy, but in their ignorance, destroy it as they would their foil. So, yeah, Shantideva is saying, one need to be very skillful in getting aware of what really are the causes which give rise to the joy, and what are the causes which bring unpleasant situation, right? So if we try to understand these four reasons that we discussed, then we gradually come to understand what really are the causes. Right. Now here, so far, we talk about the nature of dissatisfaction, the nature of unsatisfactory nature, unsatisfactory nature, of the things and events, and especially when it comes to the pleasant feeling, like these things we talk. Right, but then why we need to understand this, right? It's very important, why we need to understand this, because sometimes what really happens is much of our problem, and also all the the pleasure of what we call as pleasurable experiences, we take for granted, we take for granted. And not only this, we as a human being, as a social animal, it is our nature to seek the pleasure, right? So there's no question. There is no question about this. But then there's no problem at all, if we really try to seek the joy and happiness. This is our basic instinct. We also have the right. But then what really in between what really happens is that we keep on searching, not try to be satisfied of what pleasure we do have, not try to be satisfied of, and then thinking that there is much more deeper pleasurable experiences, much more deeper pleasurable experiences, and that pleasurable experience is sensory pleasurable experiences, right? But then what we are trying to say is we are not telling not seek pleasurable, sensory pleasurable experience. This is what we are not trying to make a sense. This is not what we are trying to tell. What we are really trying to tell is pleasurable is sometimes we tend to believe that pleasure, sensory, I'm not talking about mental, pleasure. I'm talking about the pleasure, sensory pleasurable experience. The pleasurable experience at sensory level, we tend to believe that this is the something, so reliable. This is the lasting happiness. Lasting happiness, this is so reliable, right? So this is what we are trying to say. This is not so reliable. We can, because we put 100% trust. We put 100% trust in 100% interested in that, in this value. Therefore, we say sensory pleasurable experience are not the lasting and eternal form of joy. Eternal form of joy, because many of the sensory pleasure experience that we derive through is mainly through the senses, sense organs, right? When we talk about sense organs, it has to do with the external facilities, right? External facilities. But after all, these are not the lasting and eternal form of pleasure, because external facilities has the limitation. External facility has the limitation. So long as there is external factors, external facilities, it's okay. So long as there are no longer external facilities, we feel bored. Then we go like to go here and there, difficulty in killing our time. Sometimes do not understand what to figure out. So this problem arises. Then another question arises. If the pleasurable experiences, are are not reliable, are not so reliable, if these pleasurable experiences are not so reliable and not to be entrusted 100%, right? Then the question arises, now then what we are supposed to do? What we really are supposed to do? Because as a matter of fact, we all know that in a day-to-day life, right? Many of the many of the experiences, pleasurable experiences that we derive, that we enjoyed, is mainly through the senses. It's mainly through the senses. But then these senses, the pleasurable experiences are finally not to be entrusted 100% and not so reliable. Are there any so-called pleasurable experiences which are so reliable, which can be trusted, to a high, high degree, high level of degree, right? Then the issue of the the inner world come into being. Right, the inner value come into being. Therefore, there is a what we call as now in many educational institute now come to believe the universal value, the secular ethics come into being. Because so far, I mean, there many, intellectuals, in these times, many intellectuals, educationists, right? And some leaders, right? There's some teachers, the professors. Now they come to the conclusion, In addition to the present system of education, the education of the heart, the education of the emotions is necessary. Therefore, education of the heart, education of the the secular ethics comes from the kindergarten. Should be taught kindergarten to the university level. So these things become very, very important, right? Very, very important. So then, right now, now we come these, what are the guaranteed, or what things are guaranteed which really make the one's quality of life, the full quality of life, high standard of living, right? High standard of living. High standard of living is now the positive emotions, these positive emotions, what we call as now mental joy, mental happiness. Not mental happiness come into being. The importance of the mental emotions, the mind, the mental emotions. Because what really creates the problem? What really creates the the problem is the harmful emotions. What really creates the joy and happiness is the positive emotions, positive thoughts. Right? I think if you try to compare, in the village and in the city, when we talk about the the number of people suffering from the mental sickness, which is more populated, in the village or in the in the village areas or in the city? In the city, one is surrounded by millions and millions of people, but still we could see people suffering from loneliness, self-hatred, low self-esteem. All this, why? It has to do with your emotions. It has to do with emotions. Right? If we try to, to pay some attention, you really try to, look into this, it becomes things very clear, very clear. Right? If we are physically sick, if we are sick, of course, we can go to hospital, right? However, if we have some mind problem, some, psychological, what we call a psychological problem, or if you try to go to hospital, please sell me happiness and joy. They think you are right. Some problem. So nobody is selling happiness and joy, mental joy and mental happiness. Mental joy and mental happiness comes from oneself, not from an external thing. Right. So therefore, now here, when we talk about the joy and mental, happiness, now positive things has much to do. Positive emotions has much to do, and especially, so this is what we have been, discussing, so far. For example, like cherishing others. Of course, this, pretty, we as a beginner, pretty difficult, but through training, there is no other option. There is no quick fix solution that we call quick fix solution. Now, cherishing others more than cherishing oneself, this. And then we talk about the 6 perfections, right? The Mahayana, which these 6 perfections are the Mahayana practices, right? Mahayana practices, these 6 perfections are, based on the cherishing others more than cherishing oneself. Jazongaba make a, as we discussed, he say, by fulfilling the welfare of others, one's own welfare or well-being is accomplished as a byproduct. This is something very unique, This is something unique. Now, how do we understand, how we are supposed to understand by fulfilling the welfare of others, well-being of others, our own well-being is fulfilled as a byproduct. We don't, however, if we ourselves individually, are trying to fulfill our, well-being first, we take our well-being as a priority of oneself and then neglect, right, the well-being of others. So that's. So now, because, when we talk about, cherishing others, fulfilling the well-being of others, fulfilling the happiness of others, much is based on this, for example, right, the practice of giving come into being, the practice of generosity come into being. So we will talk a little bit about, the practice of the giving and generosity, because in the practice of giving and generosity, we will come to see that by engaging in the act of giving, one's own well-being is fulfilled as a byproduct. Right. Okay. So, because Buddha also taught the practice of giving. For the practice of giving, Buddha, taught this to the layperson bodhisattvas, and also the layperson, because this is what, the laypersons can, easily, practice. When it comes to the practice of, the practice of discipline, the morality, then for the monastics, monastic bodhisattvas, right? So, and also this practice of the giving is Lama Tsongkhapa taught very extensively in the stages of the path to enlightenment, right? stages of the path to enlightenment. So, and also in the in many the commentary, it talks a lot. So here I'm going to talk a little bit about giving based on the Master Chandrakirti's text, the commentary to Master Chandrakirti's text, supplement to the middle way, then Jetsongabas illuminating the thought.
师傅呢，他会很简短的介绍一下，讲一下这个布施方面的内容。用中哈巴他是关于
Okay. First, in the case of the practice of giving, there are 4 benefits. There are 4 benefits of giving. Right. And then later I will try to read and explain. Right. The first benefit is the first benefit is we get wealth. Get wealth, How we get material resources in return. I will try to explain this. Material resources. The second one is there's a chance, there's a high degree of chance that you would come to meet with bodhisattvas, or even enlightened being. Number 2. Number 3 is one really gain a deep satisfaction, joy. Number 4 is one truly, create a tremendous amount of merit, the virtue. Right. Now I will try to read. You can translate, even if they, no problem. Yeah. All these beings, these are words, all these beings, all the sentient beings, all these beings want happiness. But human beings, but human happiness does not occur without resources. Knowing that resources, material resources, arises from giving, the Buddha first discourse on that. Okay. Now I will read the commentary. All these beings want to achieve the happiness. All these beings want to attain the happiness that is diminishing of suffering such as hunger, thirst and sickness, heat and cold. However, the happiness of humans and so forth is not produced without their enjoying desired objects or resources, such as food, drink, means of curing sicknesses, clothing, and shelter. The Buddha, understanding the thought of all migrators and knowing that these resources arise from merit accumulated by previous giving, discourse on giving from the very first, for it is easy to engage in this method. Right.
With the last sentence.
Yeah. The Buddha, understanding the thought of all migrators and knowing that these material resources arise from merit accumulated by previous giving in one of the past lifetime, or in the early part of life. Buddha give a discourse on giving from the very first, for it is easy to engage in this method. Is it right? This is. Right. Now, with this, the question is being asked. The question has been raised. If that is the case, must a giver accord with proper way? Must a giver accord with proper ways in order to attain marvelous resources from giving gifts? God. That means, now in order to engage in the practice of giving, do I need to do it in a proper way? Right? Here this now I'm for example, I take an example. I want to I'm giving I'm giving this cup I'm giving this cup to somebody, right? But then I'm expecting the return. I'm expecting return means I'm expecting more kind of wealth, more kind of wealth. In order to have more kind of wealth, I wish, but then my act of this kind of giving, is it need to be proper or not? My motivation should be proper or not? Then Master Chandrakirti say there are people who do this, by engage in the act of giving with a hope for reward. But a hope for reward means, maybe expecting to gain more, material resources in the next life or any point of life. And then there are people who out of self-cherishing attitude, people may do this with self-cherishing attitude, with the sense of the anger, the attachment, and many for example, like the 8 mundane concerns. Even if we have any kind of negative emotions here, and the practice of giving, will you receive the material wealth or not? Yes. There's no question, yes. But then you will not gain, you gain only maybe 2 benefits. You don't get all the 4 benefits. One will not get all the 4 benefits. What benefits you get is, as a result of engaging in the act of giving, you get material resources. There's no question. In any point of life, possible maybe in this very life, or in next life, or life after life. And there's also a chance that you would come to meet with some special being, spiritual being. But then the other 2 merit the sense of joy. One will not get the sense of joy, and one is not creating any merit from this. Right. Now let me read. There are those who, like merchants, seek to gain an enormous mass of wealth by giving away very little, wanting for vaster resources than do beggars. They are enthusiastic in giving. Even for them, giving serves as cause of extinguishing the suffering of hunger, thirst, and so forth, by bringing marvelous resources, material resources. So that means, even if you, engage in the practice of very small giving, tremendous amount of wealth is being received. So this is what he's saying. Sometimes we may wonder, how come, if we give even a small amount, we get. So this is, so Master Chandrakirti is interpreting, I think, if the author, Master Chandrakirti, he is on a high level of bodhisattva, right? Not an ordinary human being, very high high level of Bodhisattva, he come into this world not through karma affliction, but through the prayer and aspiration, right? He come into this world. But Buddha also professed he is coming, when it comes to interpreting the Nagarjuna's philosophy, he is matchless, At one time, Jetsongaba asked Manjushri, Buddha wisdom, Master, the author of this, Master Chandrakirti's, the teachings, the discourse on commentary, is it reliable, sufficient? Can I rely on his, teachings? Buddha Manjushri responded, Chandrakirti is not an ordinary human being. Chandrakirti is a high-level bodhisattva who come into this world, out of prayer and aspiration, right? In his teaching of sutra and his teaching of the tantra, there is not a single, mistake. Not a single mistake has been committed. So really, all the teachings are stainless. His teaching are stainless. Whether it is on the tantric teachings, whether it's on the sutra teachings, you can rely 100%. Not a single flaw. It's a flawless teaching. So if it is a flawless teaching, then it's also flawless. If you even give a little tremendous amount of wealth is being received, right? So like this. So Manjushri told this to Jetsongaba, Lama Tsongkhapa. Right. Now the second benefit, we're talking attaining the happiness of nirvana through giving. So this is the root text. Through giving, even they will attain a meeting with a superior being. You will come to meet with some special person. Then they will cut the continuum of cyclic existence, going to the peace caused by meeting a superior. Even those bereft of compassion but intent on giving, those who have no compassion but their just sole aim is just to get the material resources, then they practice giving, looking only after their own happiness in a sense of diminishing suffering, quickly attain a meeting with a superior being while they give. Right. So this really is also unique, This is the greatness of the giving. Right. This is because the excellent are said to associate with patrons, benefactor, to whom they then teach doctrine. Through this, the patrons come to understand cyclic existence as being without any good features. Through actualizing uncontaminated superior paths, they abandon ignorance and completely sever the continuum of cyclic existence. The passage from birth to death again and again since beginningless time, they pass to the peace of the hearer and solitary realizes the peace, eternal peace, which is caused by meeting with the excellent superior being. Right. So now the third benefit. Extraordinary benefits of Bodhisattva's giving, the importance of discussing giving for both the compassionate and non-compassionate. The joy attained by Bodhisattva when giving, and whether or not suffering occurs when a Bodhisattva gives away his body. Right. Now this, the third one is something unique. The mental joy, mental happiness. It's a satisfaction, deep mental satisfaction. Right. So it says, those bearing in mind a promise to help beings attain happiness from giving before too long. Definitely this, one gain this kind of the mental joy and satisfaction, right? Now, first let me give and then explain. Yeah, I will explain. When non-bodhisattvas satisfy a beggar through giving, when non-bodhisattvas satisfy a beggar through giving, it is not definite that they, at the time of immediately afterwards, enjoy the happiness. That is the fruit of their giving. Because non-bodhisattvas do not at once see the fruits of giving, they're giving. Because, if I give, right now, after a few minutes, I get material resources, it's may possible, in most cases, not possible. So therefore, they do not engage in giving, right? However, bodhisattvas who bear in mind the promise of help all migrators in the long run and to achieve happiness for them temporarily attain the fruit of their giving, a supreme joy. As soon as they see a beggar's satisfaction, enjoying the fruits of giving, bodhisattvas take joy in giving at all times. Right. Now here, because for example, right? For example, I have no motivation, right? I just take myself as an example. I have no motivation to benefit, I have no motivation. Maybe my motivation is some kind of, neutral motivation, neutral, some beggar passing by, I give some cloth, some dress, right? Because of that act of giving to the beggar, I get two benefits, I get only two benefits. There's a chance that I may meet a special person, the spiritual being, a bodhisattva, and also as an act of giving, I definitely receive the material resources, not from beggar. Right. But then in some way, I receive definitely, not necessarily in this life, but in other, point of life in the future. But then the very important thing is, I miss those important, benefits. I don't get joy. And I also don't create merit. Why I don't get joy? Why I do not get joy is because there is no satisfaction. There is no way then I can, I can, gain satisfaction, because I have no wish. I have no wish to benefit. Whereas on the other hand, somebody, not necessarily bodhisattva, somebody who make a promise, who really, wish to fulfill the happiness of others, What happiness? As a result of, engaging in the act of giving, that person, when they see the, the beggar, when the beggar is satisfied, they think they have fulfilled the, happiness of somebody. They have truly fulfilled the well-being of others. Because this is their aim, this is their desire to help. So because of this kind of, seeing the satisfaction brought them happiness, mental joy. So this is the unique, very, very unique. Everybody want happiness. Do not want suffering. So if we really try to, enjoy happiness, joy. So these are the mental happiness, mental joy and mental happiness. Right. So right from the beginning, rather than and other kind of neutral or negative emotion like the it mundane concerns like this, right from the develop, sincerely wishing to help others, develop the wish to fulfill the well-being of others, welfare of others, because this wish brought happiness, right? Not only this, the voluntarily, a sense of voluntariness is involved, right? So, right. So this is really the wise selfish, not a fully selfish, really wise selfish, because it's talking about you. You want happiness. We want happiness. If you want happiness, we try to. Why we don't do that way? Huh? Oh yeah. You better remind. Okay, otherwise, I keep on going. Almost 1 hour, 20 minutes. Oh, 1 hour, 20 minutes? Yeah, you already talked. So maybe 40 minutes left. Oh, 40 minutes left. Yeah, I will. Yeah, we maybe. We don't do much extensive to the Garba, just some visualization. It won't take. Continue next week as well. Oh yeah. We can also do like this. We can. Yeah. First, I will explain a little bit here. Okay, and then I think I won't take much. Now the last. Bodhisattva take joy in at all times. Mercy for this. What kind of choice? So we can, through training, we can also cultivate a kind of joy that the bodhisattvas cultivated, right? Bodhisattvas can also cultivate, So the joy, in the case of the bodhisattva, when they just hear the name give, their mind is filled with tremendous amount of joy, even the bliss, the bliss gained through total cessation, as compared to the joy derived through hearing give surpasses. So also one, create a tremendous amount of merit, So here, now I will better, going to almost stop, right? Let me read the one text, by Jetsong Baba. If you give while considering the karmic result of generosity, resources and the like, you will obtain a large amount of resources, but you will not attain liberation. Just as business people who give without any hesitation all their goods to others for a price, merely get a profit, but do not obtain merit. Aryadeva's 400 stanzas says, from making gifts to this person, I will get great reward. Such getting and giving are looked down on as being the wanting profit in business, right? So I think bodhisattvas, if you, not necessarily bodhisattva, if you really, develop the wish, to fulfill the happiness of others, to bring the well-being of others, then we get four. Not only two, we get four. We get material resources, because your wish is to see the person get fulfilled, happiness fulfilled. And then when you see the person get fulfilled, person's wish is fulfilled, you get happiness, number one. And you get material resources. You also come to meet with the enlightened beings. And you also create tremendous amount of merit. This merit, because sentient beings are limitless. Sentient beings are limitless. If you give, for example, like this cup, then you have the merit of giving each individual sentient being. One can do through mental, right? If we have the wealth, the wealth or resources, one need to do both, practically and mentally. If we have resources, we don't do practically, but mentally not good, right? So also, giving through mental is also wonderful, truly wonderful. So then there are a lot of benefits, a lot of things to be said about, but then I won't go, So then maybe when the time, another time comes, we'll talk a little bit about, giving. Okay, then we look at the Chidakarpa, practice,
Many of them don't have good foundations of how to do the visualization. So I think if you can explain in detail, like slowly, you can take a couple weeks to go through this, and it will be beneficial to them. We take it slow, to teach, slowly teach the meditation, and also in the future class, at the end of class, if you can lead a short guided meditation on the visualization, will be helpful for us. 所以我刚才有替大家请师父呢，我说地藏菩萨的这个修法呢，因为我们很多人都很感兴趣，所以我请他交换一点，教的仔细点，这样子的话呢，我们可能对于很多人可能会获得一些利益。然后我又请他以后的课呢，每次快结束的时候呢，花一点时间来带领我们做一下这个禅修和观想。
Okay. So any practice, any tantra, any practice, all the practice or any practice should be always preceded by setting up the motivation. Right? Setting up the motivation is very, very important. Crucially important. Because if once the motivation is polluted, then not, that effective, right? So here in this case, in Chidakarpa practice, just as in the same in the other practices, formal practices, so especially, when we talk about the Chidakarpa, practice, it is something related with the tantric practice, Vajrayana practice. We can talk about the four, kinds of the, the four divisions of the, Vajrayana practice, right? Vajrayana Tantra, 4 classes of Tantra. And Chidakarpa, the Tantra belongs to the, the action Tantra. it appears, yeah, action tantra, I won't go too far. Anyway, this, especially, tantric practice, all the practices, and especially when we talk about the tantric practice, the setting of the motivation is so important, so crucial, right? So significant, because just right setting up the motivation, the motivation. Now, what kind of motivation we need to set up is. So I'm here we are talking about Siddhagara practice, so which is first begins with motivation and going for refuge, right? Going for refuge and generating the mind of enlightenment. So now, why do we practice deity practice? Why do we engage in deity yoga, right? Deity practice is to achieve enlightenment. Is to achieve enlightenment for the well-being of all the mother sentient beings. Is to fulfill the well-being of all the mother sentient beings. Right. So how vast one's motivation is. Similar is one's practice become. One's practice become very profound, very effective, right? And then one also enjoy happiness by engaging in by cultivating a right attitude, right mental thought, right? So so therefore there are three different kinds of motivation one can. We do see people developing or setting up the different kinds of motivation. Some may set up the motivation expecting that things go well in this life, like this, may all the problems get solved, right? And then to get out from the suffering of this life, so I may engage in this kind of practice. Whereas some they some not only satisfied with one's own personal problem or suffering, but will not try to expand the thinking there is much more deeper suffering, the problem that I need to get out from that suffering, I need to achieve some kind of, attain some kind of, more reliable happiness. So therefore, seeking the sense of renunciation, renunciation. So therefore, I'm practicing this. This kind of motivation can be cultivated, right? And then there are some, it is not enough to, elaborate myself, because just as I want happiness and I do not want suffering, all the sentient beings are same in that aspiration, right? In that pursuit. So therefore, why not I benefit of others, fulfill the well-being of others rather than only thinking of myself, right? So therefore, in order to achieve the fullest, the quickest enlightenment, I'm going to engage into this practice. So out of this, different kinds of motivation, the last one is the most powerful, very powerful. Because by fulfilling the well-being of others, by cultivating the wish, by developing the wish to free of others' suffering, to fulfill the, to fulfill the happiness of others, that is, based on cherishing others more than cherishing oneself, right? This motivation is something very unique, Maybe if you try to, if you have sometimes, time, it's very, good to read, this Lamrim, the stages of the path to enlightenment, One really get the overall understanding how to practice in the right way, right? And not only this, unlike reading other, texts, you don't get married. But here, that's different. If you read this text, you really, widen your, understanding. It really helps you to widen your understanding. It really gives a sense of joy. And not only that, finally, one truly, create a tremendous amount of merit. Just reading it. Let alone practice reading it. Tremendous amount of joy, one will, tremendous amount of joy and merit, Even if one have more time, then try to reading this is really, because this, when it comes to the, when it comes to the, the emptiness part, then it's a little bit different. Otherwise, other than emptiness, and people can understand. It's not as deep as very philosophy, complicated, not like this, people can understand, right? And then, and also then if people don't have much time, then reading, the text like the liberation in the palm of your hand, right? And it's very nice, very wonderful text. And also the, like the words of my perfect teacher by Padu Rinpoche, right? This is a wonderful, text also, really, and also guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. Very truly, truly, really for made for, living. How to lead a very peaceful life. Sometimes we go outside, trying to achieve happiness, not trying to understand these things, they're really valuable. And then, for example, like, the jewel ornament of liberation, right, by Gambupa. Also, one can read like this. Also, really, truly, really wonderful, amazing, text. So in this, text, one will understand, that, cherishing others, the attitude of cherishing others is, it say, your problem is gone. Maybe, right? These are highly, realized masters, right? Not only talking, they also put into practice, So that must be true. It really must be true, right? So, all, by cultivating such thoughts, one's problem is gone. If you want to achieve this, if you want to aspire this, these things are fulfilled. Right. So this, the wishing to bring the fullest benefit of all others towards others, this kind of motivation need to be set up, This motivation now surpasses all the motivation. Right. Because on the one hand, if we do, may I get well, may I, everything is, come, everything goes well only for oneself, right? This motivation. And also in the second motivation, oh, may I achieve the liberation, right? Also, because in the early case, in the case, the motivation is small, so the result is small. In the second also, the result is small. The last one is entire sentient beings, the limitless sentient being. One is trying to walk, so that is truly, really courageous, unimaginable courageous, motivation, right? So now you see the benefit. In the one hand, a single person, on the other hand, limitless sentient being. Single person is included in the limitless sentient being, right? So by fulfilling the happiness of all the others, one's own fulfill all your, everything. So therefore, if we cultivate such kind of motivation, to bring the fullest, engaging us with the wish to engage in this practice, in order to achieve enlightenment for the well-being of others, for the welfare of all the, sentient beings. So this motivation now becomes the cause of enlightenment. Right. So this is what it says. With the thought to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly until I reach enlightenment. So it's such a tremendous, the courageous, courageous and altruistic mind, right, here is involved. If we are able to develop this kind of motivation, truly, when we try to do any practice, all the remaining practice become very smooth, very effective, very smooth. Even if you believe, now, even if you believe, now I should have, received the blessing, definitely receive the blessing. Because of what? Because of the motivation. One should have this. Sometimes, we forget the main part, motivation part, and then try to put more effort in the practice. Something so right. So. In the farmland, if you really want to have the good harvest, you need to work hard, right from the beginning, all the dust, take away the soil, the nutrients. You need to take all the care, and then you can have the good harvest, right? Similarly here, like this, motivation should be very, courageous motivation, the motivation to, So that's why, this is something, we call loving heart, kind heart, right? So this is something very special. For example, right? Educated, uneducated, poor, wealthy, right? Eastern, Western, right? And then all the major religions come together, right? All the world major religions come together, all the humanity come together, all the people of this world make together. Now what is the main cause for this? Right? What is the main cause which can bring, irrespective of religious, tradition, irrespective of nationality, educated, uneducated, regardless of whatever, but still people come together. Not only people, all the animals come together. What is the main cause? Loving heart. kindness, kind.
私心和悲
This
心
is really marvelous.
这是不可思议的。
This is truly marvelous, which, anything cannot do. Even education cannot. Education to some extent can do. But it's finally the loving heart which can bring people together.
自信和悲心、爱心能够进入这个世界的。
Yeah, anyway, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Suprema is really right. So we go for refuge to the Buddha. Who is the Buddha? Who is the Dharma? Who is the Sangha? Right.
我们要问说，谁是佛？谁是法？
Buddha has, because we are going for refuge to the Buddha, because Buddha is somebody,
是因为佛，
Buddha is somebody who's perfected his own well-being as well as the well-being of others.
因为佛是太极魔王，
功德，圆满了自己的利益他人的功德。
Buddha taught a lot of Dharma. Buddha taught a lot of Dharma. Buddha taught a lot of Dharma, and Buddha led show the path, to show the unmistaken path.
显示了无误的。
And this unmistaken, heart is finally motivated out of, again, compassion, loving heart, compassion. Right?
他所教
So
导的
compassion is very instrumental.
是我们的慈悲心。
Right? So out of this, when Buddha trained on the path,
当
mainly
佛
he emphasized on the compassion.
的时候，他强调的非常的重要的是慈悲。
And also you're bringing into the, making an end to the suffering, all the,
佛
limitations.
他终止了他，而且佛他真正的终止了轮回以及烦恼。
Also the Lord of the compassion,
他
Buddha has the quality of knowing,
佛他是变质者，
the quality of love and compassion,
他是
the quality of power, the power.
他具备的力量。
Right? And this, the Buddha has the power to be able to benefit, to be able to bring the fullest benefit
他的
for
力
the
量，
individual, anyone.
他的力量，
And all this power, all finally again comes from the cessation quality.
满足任何的众生。
So all these qualities make what is called as awakened one, awakened.
这样子的力量，我们称为它为觉醒者、觉知者。
We cannot, go refuse to some other, a worldly God, right? Worldly God,
我们不能够像
they are in no position
神明
to help us. Maybe, if you try to pray for them, or please,
祈祷或者
to worship, for things go well, success in this life, of course they can help, But then finally, what we want is, we want to get out from suffering. We want to attain the eternal peace and bliss. So this is beyond this is the worldly gods are not in a position to do this.
而这些世间的神明，他们
The only potential, this kind of potential and quality is in the Buddha. So therefore, we go for refuge to the Buddha,
只有佛所具，
who is perfected
我们向佛
in many ways,
皈依。他在
who has
福德之两和智慧之两，往往
who has gone beyond the limitation,
他
right?
超越了一切的限制，
He who has all the qualities
他具备了一切的功德，
that make us safe, that make us protected from the
能够令我们
suffering.
获得从轮回中得到从轮回的痛苦中得到保护的这样的一种功德。
So Dharma,
我们上皈依佛，法是什么呢？
Dharma means now, it is now somebody come and give us teaching, right?
有些法是，比如说有人来给我们教导，
Right? Maybe, based on somebody teaches, and then we practice, right? We practice, and then we develop what? We develop kind of realization. We develop the quality of realization. We cultivate the quality of cessation.
这样升起了灭。
This cessation quality now save us. So this is the real Dharma. This is the real protector. This is the real savior of us. Otherwise, there's nobody.
是真正的保护。除了这个，没有其他人可以保护我们。
Right? That's why Buddha we make very clear, Tumna Dipachu meditation. Buddhas do not wipe away their suffering. Tumna Dipachu meditation.
我们清楚的解释。
Like taking all the sins, like taking away all the sins, like the water, like taking a shower. Buddhas cannot eliminate or dispel the suffering of the sentient beings. Like the hand blessing. No Buddha can transfer his inner realization, attainments onto others. So Buddha taught through understanding, through practicing, it is by Buddha, expounding the truth. The sentient beings are then finally liberated, right? Again,
而佛是通过教导我们把佛法修持的方法来令我们获得解脱。
something like this. So this is the Dharma. So Dharma is the truly, the cessation. Right now we don't have cessation, right? We only have one-sided cessation. We do have one-sided, Buddha Jin. We do have Buddha Jin, we have the basis to get ourselves enlightened, to get ourselves. But this, potential or this seed, we need to awaken. We need to awaken, make it awaken. We need to activate it. Right now, it is something remain as something, in obscure or, something in a hidden way. So we need to make it manifest. We need to activate it. So, right, once activated, now it becomes better. Gradually, it progresses, and finally, in our mind, we are born with the quality of cessation. So this cessation now saves us from the suffering. So therefore, we are taking refuge in the Dharma. And then Supreme Assembly, right? So Supreme Assembly means Sangha. Sangha refers mainly refers, those Arya beings, those beings on the Arya beings, who have the quality of cessation and who has the quality of wisdom. So these beings we are taking refuge because they are in to help us. Like, in the hospital, when you need to get recovery of your illness, we need the three factors, right? You need the doctor, you need the medicine, and you need the nurse, right? So the doctor prescribes your medicine, the doctor, prescribe you the medicine, and the doctor also consulted you. Doctor also diagnose your disease, and then we need to eat the medicine, medicine, and then the nurses have to help you to to take the medicine, right? Those spiritual beings, these Sangha members, those Arya beings help you to travel on the path smoothly. So it's to the three jewels, I go for refuge, not only this life, until I am enlightened, until I become a Buddhahood, I go for refuge to you all the time. I go for refuge to Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel. In order for what purpose? The purpose of fulfilling the well-being of others. What kind of well-being? Fulfilling the happiness of others and dispelling the suffering of others. by achieving myself enlightened first. Then I will be in better position to help others limitlessly in the fullest potential. Right. So this is what it meant. The first verse. And then we do the this one for immeasurable. So here the refuge, when we go for refuge, it's very good, we read, but sometimes, if we try to visualize something very, very good, very, we also feel something, right? We feel something. We need to feel something. Now, then we really, even sometimes what happens is, we sometimes, feel a little bit maybe boring, for maybe for a few months, we keep on practicing, but then, it is possible that we think, oh, I don't get results, then, we may skip, So right from the beginning, if we really know how to do a, good motivation setup, it really, we are able to keep it for a very, very long time. Very long time. Very nice. Because just setting up the motivation, it brings benefit. Benefit, on the spot benefit. And then, later on we do some kind of, for example, if you want to do some kind of visualization, it's simple. But first, we need to set up the motivation, right? Right. What time? 12, I see. So, then next, I will explain this for, immeasurable, and we do the visualization. I will explain visualization next time. Okay. Yeah, we take time to do visualization next week, better. If we try to do speed, no good. Yeah. The time is all right. If you have a question, then question? No?
OK， 那今天就这样子我们自己念一下回向文。We do dedication together.
OK, yeah.
我们念一下
Jawadi Yudoda, Lama Sanjo Gune, Doaji Yamaliba, the Sala Goba, Show, Sanjo Boje, Magia Pana Gigaji, Jawanya Mabaya, Kone, Show, Yandava, Magia Pana Gigaji, Jawanya Mabaya, Kone Gondo, Show, Yawadi, Sana Yisha, Sana Ishi, the Chunwa. Tamba Guye, Laza Tabasho, Tomatan, Laza Tomatan, Tabatan, Jason, Ladan, the watches in the Yoga, the Zidan in the Yoji, the Redon Seva show. The Najis, the Matojis. Major Reddy Dominic, Madu Danda, Dala Mevada, like education of Domin, do you them, but then do you get at the machine? Then the June, the Bada Jinga, the Zagi, the Jacob, the June, Sangi, Tembata, the Gigi, the Wedding, the Water June. Tembanya, the Jada Urin, the Goji. Legion Lotte Sunday Wedding, Belagin, that is. Chavanga Yaman in the Virgil, Tayapichi, Gosova, Conrera Corporation on the Penda de Malaysia, Jerry Sawat in the Gazon. Chavez said there about the danger, Jason and Nevada, the what is in the good. No, the what is in the job, is it done in the UJ, the Seva show. We made a better Jerry to make him be when the woman legends as a veda, Kanjiki was the Ganzonga about Los Angeles, Shamla.
OK， 谢谢大家，拜拜。
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.